Right, so we're here for part 2 then of the Consortium city tour. So in part 1 then we looked at Alcatraz, we looked at everything that was built between 2019 and 2021 in the city. So we're now going to move over to the second island. So the second island we started building after we built Alcatraz. We did take a little bit of a break. I think we were all consortiumed out, but we eventually came back and we started with buildings. I'm going to be honest, I don't really remember who built a lot of these earlier ones. I know for a fact some that I built, but the first two that we're going to start with, these two, I could not tell you if it was me or Dylan who built these. What I will say though is in here, and this has been decimated due to mods being removed, I had built myself a house. Well, not a house, but a little, what's the word? Apartment, that's what I'm looking for. But as I said, it's all been decimated basically. There used to be as well signs in here with future things that we were going to build, but I'm guessing the signs were probably modded, which is why they're missing now. We've been through a lot of versions of different mods with this sea, so that's probably why. But this was the first building that was built here. In fact, I want to say, because this was the first one, I'm going to say that was Dylan, because I remember he started the building on this side. Because I wasn't as into... I didn't get back into it as early as he did, if that makes sense. Then we've got this one next to it, which has got a relatively similar vibe. I quite like it. It gives me Miami vibes. I don't know why. In fact, a lot of this side of the city does just feel very Miami-ish. I think, to be fair, we did build a lot of buildings that were in Miami, but there we have it. So we've got this one in the middle, which I quite like. This was definitely Dylan, this one. I remember him building it. I really like this one. We've also got this little extrusion coming out the back of it. I was going to say it's one of the few areas where there's an interior, but I don't think we could quite get away with calling this an interior. But yeah, it's quite nice. It adds a bit of character. We've also got that really nice swimming pool here. Coming down, then we've got this building, which was built by me. I know for a fact that this one was built by me. Originally, it was a hell of a lot bigger. It was too big. And I had to scale it down. Even now, I think it's probably too big. If I were to make adjustments to it, what I think I'd do, where we've got 3 blocks there, I'd make that 2. Where we've got, 3 there, I'd make that one 2. Make that 2 there, 2. I thought some of these were 2, but they're all 3. See, I'd turn all those 3 bits into 2, and we'd save, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10... 11, 12. We'd save about 12 blocks off of that, which I think would make quite a big difference, but as I kept saying a lot in the first part of this tour, it's just a case of time, really, and not having a lot of it. What's this? Consortium Park, Consortium Towers, very nice. And we've also got here an underground car park, which I won't fully go in, but you can see it's just a car park. Then I think, does it come out... Wait. What? How did... Oh, I'm confused, hang on. You enter the car park here. Then I'm guessing what you... Where did... What? I'm guessing you entered through that way, then you can either leave through this way, or if you've got a drop-off, you can come back this way? I'm guessing, but yeah, no, I'm not going to question it, but yeah, this is quite nice. Again, we've got another little pool on the side. I really like this bit. And we've got here a building. Again, I can't remember who built this. I'm leaning towards Dylan because he quite likes this block, like grey terracotta, and I can't stand it. So I'm guessing that was him for that reason. But as I said, I'm not 100% sure. We've also got this roundabout here, which I think is quite nice. I actually copied this fountain design and I built it in my survival world, which I'm going to do a tour of as well at some point. But I quite like this. So the idea is, say, you've come through, you've dropped someone off, you're leaving, you go around the roundabout here, you can leave through there or there. If you want to get into the hotels, you can come in through this way, do a right, then come down this way. Then we've also got a little intersection here, and then you can loop around to... I know you can't loop around. That is the most pointless bit of... Well, actually, no, because you could be coming in through here. Or I suppose we could just make it as... What? No, because then you'd be... I was going to say, you could make it so you could maybe drive this way, then over here, but... No, then you'd just be approaching oncoming traffic, so no, that wouldn't work, but... Never mind. It doesn't matter. So I think from here, we'll make our way down. And I'm just trying to think what building we could go to next. I'm just having a think. I think no, we'll go to the train station actually, the subway station. So as I said in part 1, we've got this Spider-Man PS4 building with a bridge coming out of it. This bridge connects onto the subway station. Now I know on the other island I didn't touch on any of the railways or the subway stations. That was literally just because they're all a part of this island, like they started off on this side. So I think I'll keep them for this side of the tour. But we've got the nice station here, trains every 20 minutes from the hour. And we've got what? No amniotic fluid, no fecal excrement, no peeing, no homeless, no breastfeeding, no handsy action. We've got very strict rules here of what isn't acceptable. And we've also got down here the world's worst toilets. Last cleaned yesterday, next clean to be determined. Last clean never, next cleaned probably never. We've got a wee tray. I'm going to feel very old when we actually get to that date, September 3rd, 2040. I'll be 40 years old. There's a dirty mirror, as you can see, and we've got the horrible urinal where you just get your knobs out all next to each other. Very horrible. And probably some poo-coloured water. Oh no, it's red. Should we dye that? I don't even know if this is a feature in Java. No, it's not. So we'll head back this way then, and we'll move down towards the seafront. So firstly, we've got another station here, as you can see. We've got a building here, which I think I built. Again, I could be wrong. I'm guessing it was me because it's not got that much detail. And, well, frankly, Dylan probably is a better builder when it comes to adding lots of little details and stuff like that. So I'm guessing that one was his. But either way, it looks quite nice, and I've got my face there on it. Opposite it then, we've got a really nice building, which I've got a feeling hasn't got a roof. Oh no, it does have a roof. So originally I built this out of a modded block, and then it disappeared. Clearly I fixed it. I mean, granted, it's still built out of modded blocks, but different modded blocks. So there's that. I'm also just gonna change the direction of those pillars because I'd already done some of them anyway. There we go. So here then we've got the resort that is built onto this building. It's quite nice. You know what I'm gonna say probably. I can't remember who built this. I think it might have been me actually. I think this is my building. I could be wrong. I'm gonna say I'm more leaning towards the fact that I built this instead of Dylan, because I've got memories of actually building this area. So yeah, we're going to go with me tentatively. Then we've got this building here. I don't know who built it. Could have been Dylan. Could have been me. Genuinely got no clue. I think this one was Dylan though. I'm leaning towards Dylan. This one was Dylan, again I'm going to say. I don't know too much about them, but again we've got that block that I don't really like, so that's what's making me think that that was Dylan. This one was definitely Dylan. And it is probably one of my favourite buildings that we've got on this side of the city. I think it looks absolutely amazing. Voyage. Basically, I went off one night and I came back and he'd built those two, Voyage, and this one here that we're going to get to soon. We've also got this one here, which might have a slightly sus flag hanging on the side of it. I think I built this one. The less said about this one, the better. So here we've got what we both agree is the best building in the entire world, and this is Blackpool Tower, a place in Blackpool in the UK, and it just looks fantastic. He spent so long building it. It looks It looks perfect. It's, yeah, it's without question one of the best that we've got here. It looks brilliant. We've even got a nice Union Jack flag flying. Not a Union Jack, sorry, the England flag flying across. So here then, we've got something which I know for a fact I built. This is Lakeshore Pier, as you can see by the lovely sign. So we've got the amusements here. You've got a Ferris wheel. You've got a carousel, which I at one point tried to actually get mobs standing still using commands, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. We've got a nice little diner here with floating torches. Apparently, I'm guessing they had blocks that got removed. We've got a nice outdoor seating area here. I know for a fact that this had actual modded tables and chairs, which again just were modded, so they got removed. That barn is from a mod. I don't know why it's still here and that we never got rid of it, but I just couldn't bring myself to, basically. But yeah, we've got that, which is quite a cool build. And going down here, we've got some boats. So one of the last things that I did in this world was build this. None of the boat designs are mine. I cannot take any credit for them, but I thought they looked that good. I copied them from other city worlds that I found them in. Something with Consortium is every building basically is original. Some might have been built with inspiration from others, but generally all the buildings are original. I think the closest thing we've got that isn't is hijacked, but that's not really a building, so it doesn't count. But yeah, we've got these boats here docked in the harbour, and then we've also got this nice little this tour boat. We've even got a company here, Alcatraz Tours F. I wonder if they're real or not, potentially. But yeah, I know for a fact I built this, and I think it looks really, really nice. I really, really like this one. And then we've also got, as you'll have seen, some boats in the water as well. So over here then, we'll quickly move over to these two buildings. These two originally were along the front, but I think we just weren't 100% happy with where they were placed. So Dylan just moved them over. Hang on, no. One of those buildings is the sus building. So it's just this building which needs to be moved around. Has that got the... Yes, it has got a sus flag. So finally then, for the front blocks, we've got this massive car park that I built. I think it looks quite nice, and I think it's quite realistic as well, that there would need to be a lot of parking space here for the beachgoers, even though there's no beach, for the tourists. As well, I've only just noticed how we've only got really one way in and one way out, so I can imagine traffic would be a bloody nightmare there. So we're going to skip these two buildings because they're so insane. I'm going to talk about them when we've finished what's around them. So here we've got a building built by Dylan, which I really, really like the look of. I know it's meant to be based off of somewhere, but I can't exactly remember where, but I think it looks quite nice. I also noticed one of the bits he'd accidentally copy and pasted, but he never flips it around, so you had randomly here, like, this facing the wrong direction, and he never noticed even after he finished building it, which I thought was really quite amusing. But yeah, I got that fixed. Next to it, Dylan also built this. I know he was a bit unsure about it when he first built it, so he kept a copy of it in case he wanted to get rid of it, but I think we got rid of that copy because he's quite happy with how it looks now, and to be honest, I quite like it as well. It reminds me a lot of the original pink building which we saw in part 1. Obviously a little bit different with the general structure, but I think it's quite good. So, the big one then, and I believe this is the second tallest building that we've got in the world. This is the Sears Tower, or the Willis Tower, from Chicago. I built this, and it is my favourite... No. It's my second favourite building that I built, and my favourite one is right next door to it. It looks... Oh no, is this taller than the World Trade Center? I think this might be maybe a block shorter. What's that? 2.6... Oh no, it's like one block higher. I remember in the last part saying it was about 250, the World Trade Centers. Or 258. So this is slightly taller. That's pretty cool. Tallest building in the world. Then down here we've just got the grand sections of the Sears Tower. I think it looks quite nice. I really like this light feature that I made. The skyline, that looks pretty gorgeous. And then, probably my favourite building that I've got in Consortium is this. In Dylan's own words, he says he does not know what drugs I was taking when I built this, specifically this, which just looks fantastic. I don't know how I did this, and I could never repeat it, but it just looks fantastic. I absolutely love it. We've got a train station built into the side. A word of warning, it is mangled just because of modded blocks, but we had a cinema up here. It's just been absolutely decimated, as you can see. Yeah, it's not in the best of shape. Yeah, I don't know. Was it possible to access up here, or did I just build it to be able to have a look around? No, I never built any stairs unless the stairs were modded. But yeah, this really it doesn't fare well, unfortunately. When we removed mods, when we changed versions, but we've got, if we go down here, we've got the train station, as you can see. That's really, really nice. It comes out here, and we'll go that way later. Then I'm trying to think, where do we get to the shop? I don't know what happened here. I think I found a mod where you could use any block as carpet, and then when we removed it, those blocks just sort of appeared there. But here's the main shopping area, so you'd have loads of shopping outlets. Well, I was going to build like a proper games outlet here, like maybe have bowling and mini golf on the top, but again, I'd sort of lost a bit of motivation for building this, and then I just never got round to it, unfortunately. But it looks amazing, and given that we don't really do interiors anyway, I'm perfectly happy with it. We've also got a massive car park on the side here. We'll just have a look through the bars. Unfortunately, the blocks that I made the car park out of were all modded, so they're gone now. As you might notice a trend. And here we've got like the bit made for deliveries. I don't know how structurally sound this would be having all these pillars removed. I think it would probably collapse, but yeah, I think this is easily my favourite building. And we've got a nice bit of road going around here as well. You can even do a loop round if you decide you don't want to be going this way. Probably not suitable for long vehicles like buses or trucks though. So, heading over this way then, we're going to start to see now a lot of buildings which are incomplete, unfortunately. So, firstly, we've got probably, I think, the last building which I finished in the world. Very, very basic skyscraper from Chicago. Next to it, we've got another skyscraper from Chicago, which I just didn't finish it. I don't know why. I think I've just started losing motivation, which, to be honest, I've not had motivation to build Consortium for a long time. Probably just because I'm so busy with my teaching. But yeah, I will come back and finish this one day. Just probably not anytime soon. And we'll skip everything here for now, and we'll go back over to this side. So firstly, another one of our friends. Now, next to this face, we've got a building which I've dubbed Sober Bone, because it was basically just a rebuild of Drunk Bone, but I wasn't drunk when I built it, so the roof actually makes sense, which is pretty nice. It's basically otherwise exactly the same, though. Why is that coloured? Is that meant to be purple? That never used to be purple. Is that my shaders? Huh. Anyway, this is just a car park, which originally was also on the other side, but we moved it when we moved this building here, which is the much more impressive John Hancock Centre. So Dylan originally built this next to the Twin Tower. It was in that spot, as I mentioned in part 1. He had a mental breakdown trying to figure out how to build this, and I don't blame him. Since he built it, I pasted it over here and I rebuilt it to make it a little bit bigger, and also just to make the like coming in on itself look a bit more natural. There were plans as well to put half slabs on this to make it look even nicer, but that is a job for when I've got time. And this is also one of the tallest buildings we've got in the world. I think, yeah, just looking around, I don't know why randomly that building is almost as tall, but I think, yeah, we've got one, two, only 4 buildings taller than it, which is pretty realistic. This is one of the tallest buildings in all of Chicago. Between these buildings, then, I don't really know what this is, but I quite like it. I think originally, when we were planning on doing a subway, we said this would be like a grand entrance to it, but I think we're realistically not gonna add a subway just because of how much effort it would take, but we might do, and if we do, we've got this here which can serve as an entrance. Otherwise, it can just be a nice fixture in the city. Here we've got a building which I believe is from GTA 5, but I could be wrong. I really, really like this one. Again, it's one of my favourites in the world. Another friend's face coming off the side of it, and then you've got like a nice sort of drop-off centre here. And then yeah, it is. I think it was a car park, but again, the modded blocks got removed. Up along the side here, we've got a building which I won't say what it's called because that is the building of my old university. But yeah, this building used to be at my university campus. I did slightly modify it to make it look a little bit nicer, but I figured I'd build this here. Over here we've got a building which holds the record for the most time spent in construction, because I built the outline for it and then never built it. This is literally just, I think, a Chipotle or a Wendy's in Chicago that I found on Google Maps. Built the outline for it, bookmarked it, spent over a year having not built it, then I finally got around to doing it. Then it also had some nice shops on the back side of it, which is pretty cool. This building, another one of my personal favourites. I really like how from this side it looks fully flat and you think it might be quite bare. But then if you look at it from this angle, it's actually really nice and detailed, especially the bottom of it. I think the bottom is probably what makes this as good as it actually is. But then I think the general shape of it really, really helps as well, which is quite nice. We've got these buildings here, which I've dubbed the cheese slice buildings. I believe these are based on real buildings in Chicago. They're meant to be like copies of each other, but one's bigger, as you can see with that one, which is quite nice. I really like these. Then here, I believe this building is just a car park. Yeah, just a car park there. We've also got a bridge connecting this to the other island, which we'll get to later. We've got here a building which used to look absolutely stupid. It looked a bit like a robot, just the way that I'd done the top of it, so I absolutely had to change that. It looks better now. I'm still not 100% happy with it. What does this sign say? 10 Arts... 10 Avenue of the Arts, Philadelphia. There we go, that's where this is from. And then we've got the much more impressive dome on the back, which I think if I hadn't already built this dome when I built this stupid bit, I would have probably just bulldozed the entire thing. Here we've got a building which I pass every day IRL on my way home from work, which again I just haven't got around to building. It's going to be a nice little post office that's going to fill up this square here. On the rest of this block we've got another building from my old university library. Some friends of mine who went to university there, I showed them this and they said it basically is identical. You cannot tell the difference. It looks perfect, which I'm really, really happy about. And I also built this while in the actual building, and we used to have it's not here anymore because it was a modded block, but in fact I'll re-add a pillar. No, I won't go for that one. What looks nice? We'll add this, a shroomlight pillar. I was stood exactly here on my computer building this while I was supposed to be at work, but no one else was around, so I took it as a chance to do what I wanted. So we've got a massive car park here, because it's meant to be like quite a popular place in the city, a tourist destination. And we've got another pretty boring building from where I went to university, but it's very realistic. We've got my university's old sports centre and some sports pitches going along there, which are quite nice. And then this building over here, which you might recognise, is the precinct from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the TV show. So this is the shot they use for the exteriors, which is pretty cool. Now, I realised earlier I said my favourite two buildings I built, and I'm going to retract that claim because I somehow forgot about this. This is Pasadena City Hall. You might also recognise it as Pawnee City Hall from Parks and Recreation. And this is the Consortium City Hall. We've got a fair few bits on the inside. I really, really like the way this looks. The only thing I would have probably done different is that because I built the middle section first and I built the walls coming off of it, the way that it's actually... Why are these all facing the wrong way? Oh, there we go. The way that it's actually supposed to look is that you're meant to have this same overhang on the front as on the back, but because I built this first without considering these walls, I wasn't able to do that. But to be honest, I actually prefer the way it looks now, because I think it looks more grand having it properly stick out here on this side, and then be a lot more flush in with the wall on this side. Like, you can see it's the entrance, but it's not as grand, so you can also tell it's the south entrance. So if we come in from the main side, firstly we've got stuff from a Minecraft photography mod, which we'll get to shortly, just down that corridor. But I also want to take a moment to appreciate these signs. There are plans to build number 10 Downing Street on the far right island of the city. When those plans were made, the Prime Minister was Keir Starmer. How many elections will we have had since the 2024 election when those plans were made? And who will the Prime Minister be when, I should say, when we finally build it? I'll just go and edit that. And as you can see, I said that on the 7th of August 2025. So not quite a year from when I'm recording this, but it's been over 6 months. So along here then, we've got some photography of the best buildings in the city. So I'll just have a quick panoramic shot so you can appreciate them. But yeah, we're going to get to all of these as we go. As I'm having a look, I realise I would probably change a lot of the order now for these, just because a lot more time has gone on. I think as well, a lot of the buildings in the top 10 were just there for the sake of nostalgia more than anything else, and yeah, it doesn't entirely represent the actual quality of the buildings. Like this one, the Poo Poo building, I would not put that in my top 25 if I were to do it now, but to be fair, me and Dylan did do this together, so that's probably why the orders are a little bit different. So coming out here then is probably my most impressive build for how accurate it is. This is mine and Dylan's old school. It's perfectly accurate. There is nothing else to say about it. We even showed our friends we went to school with this, and they were saying things like, I remember lining up for class here, or having PE in the sports hall here and like dicking about on the stairs. It's very, very accurate and very, very realistic. I also went back to work here for about a month as like a training thing, and I was able to copy the classroom layouts, which I thought was quite amusing. So we've got, I think, yeah, the first classroom here, this was my A-level physics classroom. This was the prep room. This is where I had GCSE chemistry. This is a new classroom that used to be a staff room. These were both A-level classrooms. This is where I had science in year 8. And then this was a computer room. And this is where I had science in year 9. And this was my other A-level physics classroom. Very, very realistic stuff that we've got here. Then we've got the tech building here, the drama building here, and then the original building just over there, which I think looks absolutely phenomenally good. Now, I'm also just going to show off this one building that we've got over here that is currently sitting on its own. Now, this building is a bit of an outlier because it's probably the only building which I didn't quite replicate from another Minecraft city, but I wanted a structure that I could basically build while experimenting with using a randomizer tool to get a pattern on the walls. I don't quite know if I like it, to be honest. I'll just have to see in the future what happens to it. But yeah, I can only take about half the credit for this, but I do think it looks quite good still. So we've almost finished off at this island, and there's just a few more buildings to have a look at, and we'll go back to the main island. Now, next to the town hall, we've got a building which you might recognise depending on how interested you are in American politics. This is the Texas School Book Depository building, which you may know as being the building where JFK was assassinated from, if you believe the official story. So I built this. Dylan changed the colour, and I do prefer the new colour that he gave it, but yeah, I really quite like this building. Next to it, we've got a really nice little building here. I believe that this is a post office that this is based off of, so we could say it's the Consortium post office. And we've got a little road coming down here as well with the entrance. Next to it, we've got a really nice little fire station as well, with my amazing fire truck designs, which I think look fantastic. I am really, really happy with how these look. We've also got a separate design as well for the water truck rather than the ladder truck. The only issue is because I've used daylight sensors in the design, these trapdoors always flap up, which is quite annoying, but it's fine. Then finally, behind it, we've got the last buildings over here. So this is one that Dylan built. I don't know too much about it. I think it's just meant to be a standard office, but I do think it looks quite nice, so that's pretty good. Then next to it, we've got a petrol station, which in part 1 I did mention I just completely forgot that the petrol stations need to have their little towers that display the price of fuel. I don't know how I forgot about that, but I did. And then it also connects from this side, so you've got the two sides to it. This is loosely based off of somewhere near where we live, but to be honest, the only bit that it was based off was sort of that you can come into it from two different sides, and you've got the building in the middle, and you've got two lots of pumps on both sides that, like, you can't pass through to one vehicle. I think there used to be a modded block here that would stop you going through, but that block doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. So finally then, unless I am forgetting anything, we've got the last building on this side of the island so far, which is Hull Royal Infirmary. So this was the last thing that me and Dylan were working on before we stopped doing Consortium about 6 months ago. We are probably going to come back to it at some point, it's just a case of when. I also didn't realise when I was building this, I actually switched the direction that the traffic goes on. So we're a right-hand drive city because it's like an American city. But the way that I designed this, it was left-hand drive. I somewhat changed it here. So the idea was you'd come around the outside here. The green line's only for emergency service vehicles, so if you wanted to turn left here, you'd have to give way. If there was an ambulance in that lane, and then you could turn left in here. And then if you wanted to come out of here, again, you have to turn left. The bit where it gets a little bit weird is here. Although, to be fair, have I fixed this? I know I have fixed it, to be fair. I did not realise that I'd already fixed this. I thought it was a project that I needed to do in the future. But apparently no, this has been sorted. This is, I believe, the Women and Children's Hospital. Over here we've got the main bit of hospital. There's another bit at the front which I haven't built yet, but again, if I come back to this, I will do it at some point. Over here we've got the extension bits which Dylan did. And then the last thing that I was doing in this world before we stopped playing was building the helipad which goes here, which I have not built yet. I will do it at some point. They've also got like an education building, which on a school trip we took a class to go see a lecture. So I definitely want to build that just because I've actually been inside it, and I think that would be quite cool. Since, as I said, I know what it looks like on the inside, and it's around here. So I think the idea is this road, although the hospital IRL does keep going over to this side, we weren't going to build any more of that, then we were just going to build it in this big square here. And then fill it with the rest of the hospital's buildings. So this... Well, actually, I should probably talk about this plane, shouldn't I? So, basically, we just needed aircraft to fill up the sky, and I found a template on YouTube that I copied from. So we've got this here, which I quite like the look of. We've also got a very early template for the Call of Duty Zombies map, Kino de Toten. So if we come in here, you might sort of be able to recognise what it's meant to look like. Again, it suffers from the issue of modded blocks, so a lot of it, well, not a lot of it because we hadn't built any more, but a lot of the interior looks like it's missing parts. I really like that plane as well. That is such a cool design. So if we head back over then to the original island, island number 1, we'll start going north of the World Trade Complex. So this is meant to be Grenfell Tower, which is quite bad that when we built it, it was filled with lanterns, and then the floor got destroyed, and then it looked like it actually caught fire, which is just horrific if you know the actual story of Grenfell Tower. But yeah, we've got that there. I think I built that one. I believe Dylan built this one, which is meant to be one of the buildings from the actual World Trade Complex. Again, we've got another Dylan sandstone building there. That's meant to be like another subway entrance if we do build a subway. That's where it'll go. Another one of those pale pink buildings by Dylan, which I don't really like the block, so I won't say too much on it. Another sandstone building here that looks a lot like the original, I think, which is quite cool. And we've got this building, which Dylan definitely would have built because I hate the block that this is made out of. And then one I built here called the Fred G. DeBoner building. I believe that's how you pronounce that, somewhere in America. So that's pretty cool. This is actually one of my favourites. I really like this one. I don't know what it is about it. I just think it looks really, really nice. Going one block over, then we've got a lot of buildings built by me. So firstly, I want to say this building, that bone building, was originally in this block. And I want to say it used to be here. I could be wrong, but I think we moved it when we decided to move the Hancock building and get rid of my horrible building. And I believe Dylan built that one. Behind it we have got One Canada Square, which I believe is the tallest building in the UK. I really, really like the look of this one. I remember when I was building it, I said, I'm going to do the roof and I'm going to leave space, because eventually we are going to get a mod to have glass stairs, and lo and behold, we have finally got it, so that looks really, really nice. Also, again, one of the taller buildings in a city, which is realistic. It is one of the tallest buildings in London. Sorry, I think it is the tallest building in London, possibly the UK. So, here then we've got another two buildings done by Dylan, which I think look quite nice. We've got the John building here, and this one hasn't got a name. And we've also got a statue here that Dylan built. I don't know why, but I think it looks quite nice. A bit goofy, but it's good. Another building here built by me. This is 8 Canada Square. Also known as the Keg building, which I quite like. It's based off the HSBC building in London, if anyone knows that. We've also got around the back side a building which I can't remember who made. I'm leaning towards Dylan for this one. Although given how hideous the torch placement is, I've got a feeling it might have been me. Then we've also got this building here which Dylan built, and this was the first story of getting one of our friends' faces to put on the side of a building. I literally just messaged the guy and I said, can you send me a photo of yourself? And he said no, and I said, no, come on, it'll be funny. So we did. And then we put it in a pixel art generator and we made this. Oh no, I should say Dylan made this. So over here then we've got a block where, we've got a few blocks where everything here was built by me. So firstly we've got these 4 towers. I cannot remember which city in America they're in. Dylan said they looked quite Soviet, which I get where he's coming from, but these are definitely from America. I've spent absolutely ages building these, but I really like the look that they turned out with. We've also got the car parks here, so this is for Tower 3 and 4. I think, is there any more racing on the other side? No. And then we've got buildings 1 and 2 over on this side. And we've got the car park. Here we go for Towers 1 and 2, which is probably quite unfair that this is a lot bigger, like twice the size, but we'll go with it anyway. And then we've also got the road that sort of curves around it, which I quite like. One of the main things which I didn't like about Consortium when we first started building it was that the roads were so ridiculously straight. It looks really, really unrealistic, and I wasn't very happy about that. So the final building going back this way then, which I believe is a Hilton Hotel, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. 720 South Michigan Avenue, Hilton Hotel, Chicago. So I'm really, really happy with the way this one turned out, especially those line designs. They just look fantastic. It's unfortunately not finished though, as this is meant to be a car park on the back of it, which I just haven't done yet, but I will get to at some point. He says, so if we head back over this way then, we'll go to the final few buildings in the city. So we've got here the CHS building, which, to be honest, I think I probably built earlier. I think I built this before we did Alcatraz. I think what we did, even though we hadn't built the back blocks, I think we did a couple of buildings. Although, to be fair, I think there's a chance, I could be wrong, these two blocks that we've got here could have been pre-Alcatraz, but I really just can't remember, unfortunately. And then these two could have been as well. The ones along the side, I honestly, I could not say. But I think they all look quite good, either way. So, I think Dylan built that one and that. No, I think all three of these actually might have been Dylan. And then we've got another one of our friends' faces on the side. That looks really nice. Now, you might recognise this one if you watched part one, because this is just Model Industries, but we put it over here. I don't really know why we did that. I think it was just because we wanted to have one that hadn't been absolutely crippled with angles. We've also got this, which I haven't finished. It's meant to be a local Weatherspoons in Hull, where I'm from, but it's just not finished. Here is another building from my university, which I once injured myself at. Here we go, we've got the Consortium C. Ferrens building, which, God, was built on July 16th, 2022. So a very, very long time ago. How old was I when we did this? I would have just turned 19. And I'm nearly 23 now, which is just insane. I didn't even think this was built that long ago. I was thinking this was maybe a 23 or 24 building, but apparently not. We've got here an old warehouse, which Dylan made. And we've got here another building which I made, which I tried experimenting with different blocks for, but I didn't really like, so I just made it patterned instead. This is meant to be a bank, which I think looks quite cool. And we've got this building alongside it, which Dylan built, which he originally thought was an office. Turns out this is a car park. So fair enough. And then over here we've got another one of my personal favourites. Now, if you've seen Chicago Fire, you might recognise this as Firehouse 51. Chicago Fire is one of my favourite TV shows, so I thought I absolutely would just have to build the fire station from there. So we've got the trucks here, which are older designs, which have been absolutely decimated by changing mods. I don't know why. I don't just fix them or replace them. I should probably do that at some point. We've also got the ambulance here, which didn't get decimated, thankfully, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, this is easily one of my favourite buildings in the city, and then you can see here we've got CCFD written in really nice polished blocks on the side of it. Coming up here, we've got another building from my university. I basically have half the campus built around a city. This building was very easy to build because the actual building is literally just made of, well, squares that are 1.5 by 1.5 meters. Got a bit tricky because I did have to use half slabs, but I think I say we managed. No, Dylan had no part of this. It was just me, but I managed, and I think this does look really, really nice. I remember thinking at one point I would actually build the lecture rooms in here because, like, I've had lectures in here. I just thought that would have been quite amusing, but I decided not to in the end, just because we don't really do interiors, like I've already said several times. So we've got a nice big car park next to it again. And then we've also got, you can see over there, one station. And we've got another one here. Originally, we were waiting for a mod called Immersive Railroading to update before we did any more, but it's been years and it hasn't updated, so I'm pretty sure it's probably been discontinued now. So that's just stuck on an old version, but I'm sure we can use our imaginations, but I'll be honest, I would love at some point to be able to see trains coming along here. That would be amazing. As well, I went onto an older version of Minecraft to design the curves, and I actually designed it so that the blocks wouldn't be destroyed by carriages swinging out. But yeah, whether or not that'll actually happen, I very much doubt, unfortunately, but it could one day, and if it does, then I'll add tracks in. So here then, another building you might recognise from part 1. This is New Industries. Again, I put it here because I thought I wanted to have it without the angle, because it does look a lot better without the angle. So you can see trucks would come in here, then forklifts would go up to them and upload their cargo. I really like this forklift design. I don't know if I designed it, because it looks really good, and I'm not that good of a builder. So I think there is a chance that this could have been taken from the internet, but I'm really not too sure. And then finally, I believe, concluding the tour, we've got the most recent building which I completed in Consortium, which is here, and I think this looks amazing. So it's meant to be like a, I don't know how to describe it, it's meant to be like an office. Yeah, to be honest, that's probably the best way to describe it, but it's joined onto another bit which I think I've said is meant to be part of the same company. Maybe the warehouse or something like that. But yeah, really happy with how this turned out. I remember I only built it in 2025, so it's a relatively new building, but yeah, I think that looks really, really nice. So finally, the only other thing to show then, and it's not really a building, but it is quite nice detail. So originally we had no railway lines going over the city, so when we started building on that side, we made them come over to this side. As you can see, we've got quite a nice bridge here. I realise I haven't shown the other bridges, so I should show those. So we've got this nice one here, the red one, the rail bridge, which Dylan doesn't like because the curve starts on the bridge, but I personally do quite like it, so his loss, I suppose. And then we've also got here a swing bridge that I designed, which I think looks really, really nice. So the idea is you'd stop here, there'd be a red light, then it'd like come around, it would sit on here just so it doesn't fall over, and then boats can pass through. So I think that looks pretty good. So yeah, with the railway lines, it's going to come this way. We have got a map of the city for how we want it to look, so we know where the railway lines would connect to. And originally it only went this way, but what we decided to do was actually just clone everything on this side and move it over that way, so we could fit room in basically to have this in the middle. And then we also decided we just have like a nice water feature here, which does just go down to the ocean, I think. Yeah, that is under the map. So I'll just fill holes in. I don't actually see where the other one is. That might be a lost cut. Oh no, there we go. So as you can see, it comes along this way. I sort of did the interiors of the station, but not really. I just built a station with the bridge connecting them. Again, modded blocks, so those cracks wouldn't have been visible, but it is what it is. I do have an older version of this world where I've got all those old Java mods, so I could very easily fix it at some point in time. I just haven't got around to. So this is pretty much then. I'm just trying to think if I forgot anything. No, I have. There are a few more things in the sky. So firstly, we've got half of a UFO here. The other half got decimated. I don't know how or when, but we've got this here. I think it was our friend Ryan who built the UFO. We've got a bit of hovering plane wing as well there. And then finally, I believe this is the very last bit of Consortium City other than the plane. We've got a nice helicopter here which I built, which I think looks really nice. And then finally to end then, If I can find it, there it is. The clouds were actually hiding the plane, that is amazing. Although, to be fair, the rest of the UFO could be up here. If the clouds are just getting in the way, but no, I don't think they are. So up here we've got a plane. Personally, I think my one down there looks a million times better than this, but this one's just way too iconic. So, this has been Consortium City then. I'm guessing no one's going to be watching this other than me in, like, a few years, just to see what the city used to look like. So we'll end just by having a look at the map of the World Trade Center, but hopefully you enjoyed having a look around future me or whoever else might be watching this video. But yeah, this is a 6-year-old project. It's not finished. I doubt it ever will be, to be completely honest, because we keep, like, having to live our lives, basically, now that we're adults, but yeah, really happy with how it looks so far. Hopefully you enjoyed having a look around, and maybe in a few years, if there's a bit more progress, I can do a part 3 to this tour. So, thank you for watching, and goodbye.